Today on the Topping Show, woke Pope is replaced with yet another woke Pope. Bernie Sanders defends his private jet use and says he has no apologies. Times Square gets a fat black woman statue for some reason. Nissan gives dealers a new metric and it's only sales for the dealerships. Krispy Kreme stock tanks after McDonald's pauses their rollout. And Volvo recalls more than 400,000 cars. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of The Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say, he's quite handsome and brilliant. Ease me, see, that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or business owner, you can reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free flamethrower with every IT purchase with Picatinny rail adapter, so you can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the flamethrower button at the top to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Nissan giving dealerships a new incentive, and it is 100% sales. Nothing else matters. No other metrics, which Nissan needs, but may hurt them long run. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Motor1.com, and rare thing for the automotive part, I don't have to give you a visual disclaimer because they actually show the one Nissan they make that looks good. The bar is low, yes, but they do have a nice picture of the Z on this article. And it's credited to again, Motor1.com, specifically Jeff Perez, who's a writer over there. And they say, quote, Nissan's bold new strategy, sell more cars. Nissan has introduced a new dealer incentive program aimed at getting vehicles out the door. And here you can see the one Nissan, I would argue, worth owning, modern Nissan. The new, well, not new anymore, the Nissan Z, or the 400Z, depending on who you're talking to, which it's sad to think that it is the only car sold in North America new that has a V6 twin turbo with a stick shift. That's how far the culture and decay has, the US is on the wrong track. It's so sad, automotive speaking. This is the one that's left. And it's one of the few options that you can get this car, the good old parking brake, you can just yank the handle on. You have to use one of those pain in the rear switches and electronic mechanisms that don't work and are just terrible. And again, that's what the enthusiasts want. It does actually keep costs down. I would argue, no, not high volume sales, I know that, but this is probably one of the best things Nissan has made in years. Yes, the bar is low, and yeah, you want to get this a manual transmission, not just for fun, but I don't think anyone on the planet trusts a Nissan CRT or CRV Banana Falcon. I know it's kidding, it's a CVT transmission, because they're basically grenades that are inevitably going to break. But as I dive into the article, they say, quote, Nissan's recent struggles are no secret, but over the last months, the Japanese automaker has attempted to right the ship with a flurry of incentive programs aimed at moving new product. The latest offering is no exception. According to Automotive News, Nissan will ditch the 20 performance-based metrics that the company currently uses to measure dealer success and focus exclusively on new car sales. This means dealers have more incentive than ever to sell you a new Nissan, even at a potential loss. Now, this is from sales boss of U.S. marketing, Vijay Shanghai. He said, quote, what matters most is achieving better sales, more Nissans in customer driveways. Which, that's true. It's one of the few articles I actually look forward to scrolling because you have a few extra pictures of the Z, which kind of looks good, those dual stripes. Only certain cars can pull that off. Of all time, probably the Ford GT, the real one from 2004, 2005, and I'd argue Dodge Viper, of course. Now, they say the new program is dubbed Nissan One, which makes sense, is one metric. It will give dealers $350 for each new vehicle sold if they achieve 90% of their sales target. Dealerships that reach 100% target will get $600 per car, while the overachievers reaching 110% will get $1,200 for each car, which is insanely good. When I used to work in the automotive industry over a decade ago, we used to joke that cars are crap because you don't make money on them. You would make money on crossovers, SUVs, and trucks. That's where the gross margin was so big. We jokingly called it was gross and gross because, the financial term and, it's gross how much money you can make. We're talking $9,000, $10,000. However, on subcompact cars, you would lose money. The GM, which I liked it because it had a stick shift and a turbo, but the, little Chevy Cruze Eco, I love that thing, but a dealership would lose about $480 on those things. You only made money if you did financing, accessories, and upselling. that's the downside of price competitive, entry-level vehicles is there's not a lot of money in them. So GM, to offset that, would send sales rep, like I think it's at the time $150 gift card or something like that, to help incentivize sales reps to actually move those, less profitable vehicles. $1,200 per car. Now that's on top of the gross profit you make on the vehicle as well. That is one of the best financial incentives I've seen in the automotive world in probably a decade. It's that good. Now, I also do wonder if Nissan, the Nissan company, not the dealerships, if the Nissan company will lose money at that price point. Now, they say every new Nissan will afford dealers the same amount. On the Aria, won't deliver as much. Every new Nissan will afford dealers the same amount. So an Aria won't deliver much more cash than a Kicks, which is a terrible name for a car. And retailers will be allowed to spend that money however they wish. So in theory, if I were a GM or general manager of the dealership, I would give an overwhelming percentage of that to the sales representatives to further increase the incentive for them to do this more and more. Now, they say that the downside is that Nissan will divert spending from programs to focus on one thing like customer satisfaction to focus exclusively on Nissan One. Now, that is the downside of this new incentive program long-term, I think. Now, you also have, again, this is Steve Milete, who is Nissan's vice president of dealer networks, saying, quote, "We're significantly increasing the margin opportunity. It will help retailers align 100% with where the OEM is going because that's where the maximum opportunity is," unquote. They say that Nissan hopes to achieve a 5.6% retail share in the US by the end of the calendar year with a new bonus program. Nissan One officially will kick off June 3rd, 2025, which means next month might be a great time to get that Z you've always been dreaming of. Though, with current interest rates, I'm thinking, hell no, because that's, I find paying a 7% interest rate abhorrent. Although, who knows, maybe if I land something like, maybe if my tech company lands something like Texas Instruments this year, I'll be able to put a down payment for a house. Who knows? But, man, that Z just looks so good in that picture. If you're not watching on Rumble or the YouTube, you're missing out on the rear of the Nissan Z, which, again, it's growing on me more and more. People criticize it because there's a lot of part sharing between the predecessor, the 370Z. Even then, the 350Z, there's a lot of very, very similar and familiar buttons in there. But again, the fact that they still make a sports car in this economy where, again, sports cars are losing market share, people are buying different vehicles more and more. It's just one of those things where I'm actually surprised they can still do it. And I appreciate the fact that they do this for enthusiasts. I love that. More options, the better. Now, the issue is pretty much every one of their competitors, and you probably get these fun little, well, not fun, that's sarcasm. You get these little reviews every time you get your oil changed. You go to the dealership, they'll ask you, they'll give you the survey. And maybe your representative will beg to you and say, "Hey, please, my bonus is, it's the biggest financial incentive for me to do good on this." And if it's good rep, I usually give them a better score than maybe they deserve in terms of, not your rep, but the dealership themselves not doing the best. But I digress. Now, the issue with this long-term is that you're shifting the focus away from customer service and long-term ROI, I would argue, for short-term success, which admittedly Nissan kind of needs because they're bleeding money left and right. And they just failed to try to merge with Honda, which, because Honda would have no upside to doing that anyway. But they're struggling and losing market share, not adapting well to the new customer demands. And the reliability, I think, is one of the biggest Achilles heel of the whole brand. Nissan Altima, which is such a parody that they have BAE Energy pages on the Facebook, which are very entertaining. That thing crippled their reputation for over a decade plus because that bad transmission just grenaded itself. As if you needed yet another reason to buy a stick shift, or also known as manual transmission. So I think this will do great in the next fiscal quarters. It'll boost their sales because, again, this is a ridiculously great incentive program. And again, if you're in the automotive community, I'd be especially interested in your feedback in the comment section. But again, I think this will actually hurt them long term as these dealerships are shifting. Some might argue what little attention they have on long-term relationships with clients for short-term success. And it's very hard to keep that balance, especially when now the parent company is telling you all about sales. So I think it'll help them short term, but again, I think long term this is going to hurt them. But let me know in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting business news: you have Krispy Kreme stock crashing after McDonald's pauses their rollout. Now, this is, of course, you have to have this caveat: not financial advice. So we're going to dive into their stock before we go into the specifics of the article. And their stock is crashing like a Boeing airplane. It's rough, to say the least. Usually the S&P 500, most popular index fund, I think goes up about 10 to 12% per year on average. And so that's what most people think businesses should do, if not better, to beat that index when they look at individual stocks. This one, it's pretty bad. Though they do pay dividends. I appreciate that, though I'm not an owner. It's actually cheaper to buy stock of Krispy Kreme than a Krispy Kreme box of donuts or a coffee, which is insane. Now, they're currently trading for, not granted, by the time this video is rendered and uploaded, they'll be different. Stock market does what the stock market does. It's trading for $3.26 per share, which is dirt cheap for a individual stock. I mean, that's, although comically enough, it's double the price of Black Rifle coffee stock. Another topic for another time, perhaps. Now, look at the trend. It's hurtful. The 5-year trend is down 82.95%. Ouch. Look at the past year trend. I mean, someone who wants to buy stock might see this as a sale opportunity because it's heavily discounted by 74.35% in the past year. Year to date, they're down 66.5%. Past 6 months, down 71%. And past month is down 19%. And past 5 days, like last week, it crashed like a Boeing airplane by 22.75%. Now, the upside is they do pay a 4.3% dividend, but again, when the individual shares are worth so little, that percentage, yeah, it's not great. Looks like their market cap is surprisingly small, $562 million. The 52-week high was $13.25 per share. So it's, 5 years ago, the price was $19.29 per share, and it's cratered ever since, like really abysmally. Now, this is credited to Amelia Lucas, who's a writer at CNBC. Now, she says, quote, Krispy Kreme stock plunges after donut chain pauses McDonald's rollout and pulls outlook. They also note that their shares have shed 70% of their value past year. Let me get that article up there. So you look at the juicy Krispy Kreme donut and coffee that probably has more sugar than a Coca-Cola or a can of Pepsi, which is actually almost fascinating they can fit that much crap into a small can, but I partially digress. Now, they say, quote, Krispy Kreme is not planning to launch its donuts in any additional McDonald's locations in the second quarter, suspending the nationwide rollout. Ouch. Because when that news did come out, the stock actually did have a pretty good bump. Because again, McDonald's is probably the best, most successful chain of food in history, at least in terms of retail history, which is a little pun if you know how they actually make their money. But yeah, in terms of, having the individual stores, they're great. And having your product right in there, pretty darn convenient. Now, they say as of March 30th, more than 2,400 of the burger chain's roughly 13,500 domestic locations carry Krispy Kreme donuts. Like Krispy Kreme CEO Josh Chattlesworth says, quote, I remain confident in the long-term national opportunity, but we need to work together with them to identify levers to improve sales. Which is a very fancy, politically correct way of saying this is not being profitable for either of us. It's pretty rough. Because again, if everyone was making money, they'd be rolling out to all the stores tomorrow. So something's not working with their price point, their marketing. Maybe people don't know about it still, but it's not working. Now, they also know that another company by the name of Truce downgraded the stock from buy to hold. Truce analyst Bill Chappell wrote, we are shocked by the speed at which the story fell apart. We no longer have a high conviction of management's previously stated strategy and execution of these initiatives, and will likely take several quarters before we or our investors will regain confidence, which, again, having the stock crash that much, can't really blame them when it comes to that statement. Now, they say that the two restaurants announced more than a year and a half ago that Krispy Kreme donuts will be sold locally at all the locations by the end of 2026, though the rollout actually began 6 months prior to this announcement today. They say while the beginning phases are promising, sales fell below projections. Krispy Kreme executives said on Wednesday, as consumers worry about a broadening economy, a potential recession, they've been pulling back at spending at restaurants. McDonald's reported a 3.6% decline in the U.S. same-store sales for the first quarter. McDonald's CEO Chris Kaminsky said that the fast food industry's traffic fell as middle-class and lower-class diners visited restaurants less frequently, which, no duh. McDonald's has lost, I would argue, most of its value because it used to be cheap, well, believe it or not, back in the day, moderately healthy, but it was also convenient, fast. It's no longer any of those things. I mean, you see the receipts going viral on social media where people are spending 20 to 30 bucks on a meal at McDonald's. That's ridiculously bad. And if you look at someone's budget, a lot of us have fixed budgets in terms of the things that we cannot immediately change, such as your rent, your electricity, your water, your car insurance, your car payments. One of the very few levers that people have when it comes to adjusting their finances and being more lean and cutting some of that extra spend is their grocery bills and eating out, which I would argue eating out is a waste of money unless you're with a prospective client or your significant other, because again, you're paying 300% on the raw materials or the ingredients, as a chef would say, for the convenience and the experience, and obviously they have big overhead and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's just say unless I'm with a client, I ain't eating out. I'm warming up some, well, it's actually John Souls. It's pretty good. Not a sponsor, just a fan of beef in the microwave and just eating that. But yeah, I'm not surprised with the uncertainty of the economy and people struggling. Yeah, McDonald's used to be it used to be a cheap place to get food. No one's doing that anymore. It's ridiculously overpriced. Now, Charles Worth also told analysts that, however, we are seeing that after the initial marketing launch, demand also dropped below our expectations, requiring intervention to deliver sustainable, profitable growth, aka people aren't buying them. He also said, we are partnering with McDonald's, this is also Charlesworth as well, saying we are partnering with McDonald's to increase sales by stimulating higher demand and cutting costs by simplifying operations. At the same time, we are reassessing our deployment schedule with our McDonald's as we work to achieve profitable business models for all parties. Ouch, this is rough. Krispy Kreme reported a net loss of $33 million in the first quarter at the end of March 30th. Ouch. That's a pretty penny down the drain. Now, they say to supply all the McDonald's U.S. restaurants, Krispy Kreme was investing in expanding capacity quickly, which weighed on the profits. In the last year, the company has reported 3/4 of net losses. Ouch. They also note that the company uses a hub and spoke model that lets it make and distribute its treats efficiently. Production hubs, which are either stores or donut factories, send off freshly made donuts every day to the retail locations, such as grocery stores and gas stations. Krispy Kreme is looking to prune its unprofitable locations, which could affect up to 10% of the U.S. network. They also know that Krispy Kreme pulled its 2025 outlook, citing, quote, macroeconomic softness and uncertainty around the schedule for McDonald's partnership, unquote, which, yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty, and if you're losing money, and it makes sense, we're going to cut that cost out. Again, I'm not sure, traditionally when you buy things in bulk, you get a better price per unit. I don't know what Krispy Kreme would have to do in terms of maybe buying more in bulk or increasing automation, but if you can get that price point down to, like, shoot, you can get that price point down to sub 50 cents. Like there's a certain price point, age old saying is at a certain price point, anything will sell. I mean, it's one of those things where it's so cheap, everyone would get there. Everyone would buy it. I believe. Again, if this is like a really, really cheap, because again, most people but most people don't care about their health, I think. And there's a brief time where they had the Atkins, the Bobby Banana Hammock, whatever you call the trendy diets, where for a while Krispy Kreme sales dropped off dramatically. But these days, people are just popping Ozempic and eating whatever they want. Which, again, not a doctor, don't take that advice from me when it comes to what you should or should not put into your body via injections, et cetera, et cetera. But, yeah, when it comes to Krispy Kreme struggling, I suspect, again, my 3 cents used to be 2 cents, but 40-year hyperinflation, it's going to be just too expensive. And also, I wonder, does it make sense when you're at McDonald's, you're eating mostly copious amounts of high fructose corn syrup and salt, do you actually want some sugar as well? In addition to your high fructose corn syrup in a cup, would you also like it via donut form? I don't know, but let me know in the comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the Cultural Part podcast, Woke Pope is replaced with Woke Pope. Though he is from America, he's the first U.S. Pope from the United States, though from Chicago, which, just like the Chicago Bears, Chicago will be good next year. Haha, sports pun, because they've been saying that for decades. Just like the economy and safety of Chicago, statistically speaking, that train ain't turning around anytime soon. Now, this is reported thanks to Charlie Kirk, in which he says, quote, and again, a little late to the game with this news, apologies. He says, quote, breaking Cardinal Robert Provost is a new pope as Pope Leo III. Oh, sorry. I forgot, I never went to public schools, is abysmal to say the least. I think we only learned Roman numerals because of the Rocky movies, and that one eludes me. Well, I guess some people watch the sports ball or the Super Bowl. He said, quote, he's a Chicago native and just became the first American pope. And this went pretty well. I got 2.1 million views and 25,000 likes, which for a fraction of a second, people are wondering, is he based? Will we actually have a pope who read the damn Bible and believes in the Bible? Which, spoiler, he does not. He is mostly talking about, oh yeah, George Floyd is a great guy. It's so sad. One of the first comments comes from someone who's, well, it's not the top comment in terms of the number of likes, but it's the top comment by the most handsome guy of all. Me, the topping show, in which I say, quote, will he be another woke pope or one who actually read the damn Bible, getting 7 likes? And I got 2 responses. Someone said, he's progressive, so he knows 1,000 times more than you about religion. Not to brag, but I did ratio saying, so he ignores the Bible. Got it, LMFAO. Haha. Might be the first time I ratioed someone on the X. Maybe, probably. Now you also have Trump Tracker saying, quote, is MAGA going to cry now because the Pope does not share the same hateful rhetoric? Getting 272 likes. Well, he doesn't have his faith based in the actual damn Bible, so I don't think most people are going to like him who actually believe in the Bible. Now, he did get 234 likes in his contrarian statement, so especially interesting. Let's dive into that. Murray Phelps says, nah, we're going to keep on making America great again. Sorry to disappoint you. Big hug. It gained 268 likes. You also have Patriot responding saying, what hateful rhetoric are you referring to? Getting 16 likes. Let's see. A lot of people are just posting random stuff throughout that. X-Men Dude says, I don't think so. We'll just think you're an idiot instead. Getting 67 likes. The Gooder says, go back to Blue Sky PDF. Lorzen says, what? So a new pope is named, already throwing political jabs. I'll bet you're not Catholic or having faith at all. Getting 27 likes, which, again, people are digging out this guy's background. And yeah, he has a long track record of being mostly a radical leftist. X Van Fleet says, quote, just learned that Pope is progressive as his predecessor. Getting 573 likes. Going up like a stock. Though, not Krispy Kreme stock. Let's see here. And people respond to him just saying, yes, he's deeply woke. And then a lot of people are just saying, not shocked. Gunther Eagleman says, quote, good or bad pick, getting 1.5 thousand likes. And a lot of people responding saying bad pick. Cool Christian Engineer says, quote, America truly needs this more than any other nation on earth. God bless America, which, yeah, we needed a base pope or, actually a pope that believed in the Bible and, but yeah, but that's not what we got. Scroll down more and more, you have Chuck Costello saying, quote, first American pope, the whole Chicago deal isn't ideal. Yeah. But it's great to see America on the world like this. We're totally owning. And not with this guy, we're not. Brendan said, one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church, the true Church of Christ founding, get 267 likes. Cage Johnson says, is this one actually a Christian? Getting 739 likes. Which, yeah. And then the first one is Hillbilly Deluxe says, nope, Catholic Church just ended itself, getting 99. Let's make it 100 likes. You also have, let's see here. Not the dumb blonde son. He's apparently woke as F, getting 40 likes. Arcado says, hopefully he doesn't have the same views as Chicago, getting 844 likes, which, spoiler alert, he does. Trying to see. Scroll down more and more to see if they have any of the screenshots of his previous comments. If not, I'll be able to, I'll probably throw them on the show tomorrow. But, yeah, a lot of people are celebrating the fact that he's American, which, yeah, that's good, but not an actual, he's not base, as they would say. Though, again, given the fact that he chose Pope Francis, I don't think anyone's surprised by the newest choice being so asinine. And it'll be interesting to see if this actually does influence any church attendance or any donations that they need for things. But yeah, let's just say with the last Pope, many people that I knew decreased their church participation because they saw he had basically nothing to do with the actual biblical teachings of Jesus. But let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting cultural news, you have Times Square getting a fat black woman statue. Ironically, from the people who tear down statues all over. Now, this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness, in which he says, quote, a 12-foot plus black lady bronze statue put up in the middle of Times Square, which I suppose it's a tribute to mediocrity. Because again, she's not a political figure, or she's not an athlete or an entrepreneur, or she's just a random black woman who's overweight wearing a rudimentary t-shirt.
And communicate those inner worlds that we have, and sometimes we misinterpret with one another, to try and create an understanding and basically encourage empathy.
I was going to say, YouTube will probably take that music out. I'll mute it because it's abysmal music as well. And you have a bunch of large black women. Is that the Truffle Shuffle? I think it's the Truffle Shuffle from Goonies. Is that dance coming back? They're all dancing or attempting to dance around the statue. Granted, I don't have much ground to stand on because my dancing skills are more like Elaine from Seinfeld. They're lacking, to say the least. Hopefully there's no video evidence of me trying to dance throughout the years on the internet. I don't think there is. And this went pretty viral. I got 13.8 million views and 12,000 likes. One of the first comments come to us thanks to assistant to regional manager and Dunder Mifflin. The Statue of Liberty representing the end of slavery. And now it's this being black is a vibe, getting 167 likes. X Van Fleet, a famous individual who escaped communism in China and I would argue is based AF, says, quote, it's simple that the city has fallen, getting 290 likes. Greta Eagleman says, quote, can I ask why? Getting 1.8 thousand likes. That's a good question. I wonder what people said to him. Trump Tracker says, doesn't matter. You'll just bitch about it either way. Getting 21 likes. Butch Canner says, is this supposed to be Letitia James, getting 63 likes? The Sports Patriot says, quote, no, Gunther, you need to rephrase your question and say, can I ask why? Ooh, a word pod, because he spelled it A-X-E, getting 89 likes. I'm surprised there's no jokes about people trying to topple it over, because that's usually what the radical left does to historic statues. If you were to do this to the statue, if you were to actually topple it over, it'd be very dangerous because, again, there'd be a possible, not insignificant possibility that there'd be an earthquake because there's so much mass of the statue. Going back to the main comment section, you have Paul Zupa saying, quote, they should be celebrating people who are healthy, getting 278 likes. True. And people who actually achieve something in life. This is literally just a random woman they made a statue of. Just further evidence of the political decay and the cultural decay, rather, in the United States, where, again, we used to build statues of great men and great women. I'm actually surprised they never actually built a statue of the gal who invented Kevlar, one of the most important materials, I would argue, in well over 100 years. It saved countless lives thanks to this major application use heavily in body armor. Yet they never made a statue of her, and yet they make a statue of just a random person. We also have Mr. Mytherts saying, quote, thoughts, and it's an article that says plus-size women admit they're not attracted to overweight men, getting 325 likes. Which, if you're a man, you're canceled, you're ostracized if you dare have any standards. But yeah, they could say that. Memaholic, a little disappointed. He said his name is Memaholic, and yet he responded just in standard text form. Nevertheless, I'll read what he has to say because he got 667 likes. Now he says, quote, give us your fourth generation welfare families, your absentee fathers, your closeted homosexuals, your slothful diabetic aided grape soda guzzling, I'm going to butcher this word, reprobates, your contemptible, STD riddled, pilfering, felonious. That can't be right. That's like Thelonious Monk, the old jazz star, who I did play in middle school. No, elementary. But he said, your felonious masses yearning for things for free. Getting 667 likes. Highly insulting. I wonder if people agreed. Let's see. A lot of people saying they're seeing similar statues in Italy, asking what the hell's going on. A lot of people agreeing with him. So he actually was not, as the youth might say, ratioed there. You also have Sam Freeman. I don't get it. Why are some people appalled by this? He got 420 responses. He also got 142 likes. Black Views FBA says they're appalled by anything that's black, getting 83 likes. Sam said, I think you're right, getting 17 likes, which I don't think so. It's just mediocrity. This isn't a person. It's just a random black gal who's overweight, which I don't know why you would ever celebrate. Again, one of the best inventors in history, well, in terms of making kids happy and having a profound impact, I would argue, well, also in retail, but also in the toy category, would be the former NASA engineer who invented the Super Soaker. He was an African-American. People should, if I were a toy company, I might have a statue of him outside if you're trying to celebrate some of the inventors who literally talk about making a dent in the universe. Who didn't have a kick-ass Super Soaker growing up, and who didn't aspire to have one of the ones that are so big at I don't know, what was it, an extra extra pack of water in your back. I mean, they had some really cool stuff. No one talks about him. Let's see here. Going back to, so I don't think it's the fact that it's a race. It's the fact that it's a statue of someone who didn't achieve anything. It's just a random person. Why have that in Times Square? I don't get it. Ruby Tubi says she looks like she's about to call you racist, getting 3.2 thousand likes. Anti-woke memes, he gets an A+ for marketing. He did in fact respond in meme form, and he says leftist logic. There's a picture of a very obese woman with a 49-pound carry-on bag at an airport, and it says 50-pound max, and it's okay. And then you have a picture of a gal who's 120 pounds, and the bag is 51 pounds on the airport scale, and the airport employee is irate. And that got 1,000 likes, which, I mean, for all the penny pinching they do in the aviation industry, I'm surprised they don't weigh the person, and you have to pay him per pound. But that is one of the BS fallacies when it comes to airline flying. Counterpoint, some people argue that it's because the airline employees, you have to move the bags, and it's extra strain on them. I don't buy that, considering if you're in average shape, you should be able to pick up darn near any of those carry-on bags. Again, they're carry-on bags, and even the check-in bags, you should be able to carry that. I'd argue most men can. You also have Libercat Media TM say, quote, why do you think of the new Letitia James statue in Times Square getting 104 likes? Real trucker Jake Logan says, it would be more appropriate to show a statue engaged in a fight with a Burger King. And 1.9 thousand likes. In community notes, it would be a Starbucks. Kidding. Though the Starbucks video of the fight did go viral earlier this week. Ragnarly has and I don't know if this is real, but it's a picture of a beautiful marble building. It says white culture, and then it has a picture of a Nike logo or a Nike banner on the building. It says black culture, and it says own the floor. Now, I'm not sure if this is photoshopped or real, though it is. I mean, Nike was also founded by Phil Knight, who is white, but nevertheless, that was the meme and got 1.5 thousand likes. A lot of people having a picture of her or the statue compared to Letitia James, getting 75 to 100 likes. Miss Ambers has a picture of Statue of Liberty, and then has a picture of the bronze gal that says statue of free shit to me, getting 74 likes. You also have a lot of people juxtapositioning the two pictures of the statue of David, which is a beautiful sculpture by Michelangelo, and then this random, overweight woman getting 126 likes. You also, Barefoot Pregnant said, Times Square doesn't need a statue, it needs sanity, getting 65 likes. That's true. Or Funian says, quote, why does she look like she wants to speak of the manager immediately, getting 2.1 thousand likes. Let's see here. A lot of people just have pictures of RFK Jr. looking disappointed because she's, again, obese. So, yeah, another bizarre thing. I'd also argue another sign of cultural decay in the United States is they celebrate mediocrity, who, again, this person didn't achieve anything in their life, and they just made a statue of that. Oh, one more. You have Dr. Harambe's ghost. It's a picture of a famous Steven Crowder at this table, and it says, change my mind. It says, New York City is a third world country, getting 907. They get 908 likes because fact check true. There's a reason people and businesses are leaving shitties, in droves. So we'll see. Do you think, will people come from all over the world to visit Times Square and see this statue? Will it be soon souvenir statues you can buy? I mean, I doubt it, but you never know. Let me know in the comments, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the political part of the podcast, you have grifter Bernie Sanders defending the use of a private jet, saying, well, there's no apologies. I need it for the rallies. So you and I can't take private jets. Well, I can't because they're expensive as hell. A private jet's like $16,000 plus. You can only afford that if you're basically your time is worth such a crazy amount of money that it makes sense. But yeah, believe it or not, it's like $16,000 plus to rent a private jet or take a flight on a private jet. It is insanely expensive. And as he would pretend to cry, well, it's bad for the environment, he argues. But of course, in pure leftist fashion, is rules for thee, but not for me. Now, this is Bernie Sanders, which at least he did suit up. He did one good thing in his life. It was a very low bar, being a perpetual, basically, leech on the public system and just getting paid to do nothing. And interestingly enough, having a lot of donations by people who exclusively work at Big Pharma. But nevertheless, it's only about 30 seconds of insufferability. Granted, some people might argue his voice is more insufferable than mine, or wait, as they say in Willy Wonka, wait, stop that, reverse. But let me go ahead and get that started here. This is a great juxtaposition of the hypocrisy of Bernie Sanders.
What we're doing now is speaking to the American people and saying, you have got to be involved in this process, because if you are not, the planet that we're going to leave to our kids and our grandchildren will be significantly less habitable.
5 rallies in a week, the only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
We're doing
Lifetime grifter, communist piece of shit. Pardon the French, but yeah, talk about contributing nothing to society except stealing more of our tax dollars while he takes private jets, which, again, if you're an entrepreneur, shoot, more power to you. I mean, fun fact of the day, Walmart was actually built in part due to the success of Sam Walton's ability to use his private jet or propeller plane to actually look at new spots where they could put new Walmarts. You go all over the U.S. and see, large areas of nothingness with a small town and say, hey, let's put a Walmart there. So again, for private sector, if you want to use private jet, more power to you. I aspire to get to the point where my time is so valuable, it actually makes economic sense for me to be in a private jet. That'd be, it could be kind of a weird dream come true. Not my main goal in life, but it'd be a cool side quest, so to say, or a side metric. But yeah, if you're on the public dime, granted, it's funded because of thanks to Big Pharma and all his employees giving him copious amounts of cash. Just ridiculous. Now, again, it's got 1.3 million views and 41,000 likes, with one of the first comments coming to us thanks to Gunther Eagleman saying, quote, Bernie Sanders is a typical liberal hypocrite, getting 891 likes. Rattleskin Sim says, quote, the guy who comes to the potluck empty-handed, complains about food everyone else brought, then tries to take all the leftovers. Yeah, getting 67 likes. Parody Public Radio has a picture of Bernie Sanders and says, I'm once again asking for you not to notice the 36 trillion in debt. Yeah, that's true. Though again, the money he's using is given by donors to his, not to defend him, but again, he's also responsible for, pushing more free shit, which again costs us taxpayers a lot of money to be given to people who don't actually contribute, fiscally speaking. I got, again, 65 likes. Just a Dude says, quote, don't forget about big pharma money. You have Bernie Sanders getting $1.9 million. Now, again, technically speaking, he always says he doesn't get money from big pharma. Technically, he gets his money from employees who work there. Now, when that's one of the largest donor categories on your whole list, I start to question, do you have a conflict of interest? Same goes with fake Native American Elizabeth Warren, got $1.2 million from them as well. And what's that? Other Democrats I can't recognize, though. At least they did suit up. They do one thing right. I got 200 likes. Yes, I have Doc's son with a picture of Bernie Sanders being a meme. He says, no, I said, share your wealth, not mine. Getting 26 likes. Funny how back in the day, Bernie Sanders would rally against the millionaires, saying millionaires are so evil. And then when he became a millionaire, now he rallies against the billionaires. Though not George Soros or, leftists like Bill Gates. He talks about, he cries about Elon, like most leftists do. It's a big hobby of theirs. Scrolling down more and more. Yeah, America True said the communism is a joke, getting 5 likes. Kyle says he's always been a piece of shit, nothing new, getting 14 likes. Yeah. Ooh, here we go. Eric Foreman, not the 70s show, says, quote, a key moment in Animal Farm was the pigs changing their commandments to favor only them. Hence, all animals are equal becomes all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, unquote. Yep, and one of the best books of all time by George Orwell and all time. And great if you have kids. There's a lot of parallels between Animal Farm and 1984. 1984 is much darker, has some adult references thrown in there. Interesting how, in that book they notice how the easiest to manipulate are, young women who become party advocates, which happened in the real world. But if you have kids at home or you're just, starting to get into reading, Animal Farm is much shorter and easier to digest. The vernacular is a little bit more simple. I want to say it's like about half the pages and the words are spaced out pretty good or pretty generously. I would consider it a great short read. It's one of the books I have that I frequently try to reread throughout the years. Though, again, it's not a happy book. That got 125 likes. Let's see. Trying to see these any contrarian statements. Because, again, there are a lot of, I was about to say idiots. Well, yeah, idiots who praise and love Bernie Sanders as he takes their money and pockets it. Let's see here. Deplorablistic says, quote, Bernie, you absolute button and buffoon and greedy capitalist pig, you're finished oligarch, getting 29 likes. Let's see. A lot of people trying to diss his hair, which, I'm not going to diss a man's hair. Lord knows I've got my issues, obviously. One of these days I'll have enough time in my schedule to actually go and get a haircut. Meshat says, quote, the hypocrisy is off the scale. I'm too important to wait in line for a commercial flight, but need to save the planet. So you, the little people who are not important, will sacrifice yourself for our planet. Getting 84 likes. Also funny how Bernie Sanders and all his, leftist cronies, they all keep buying mansions on lakefront and seafront properties. Interesting. And yet they say, we'll be, what did that silly little girl say? The Greta Thunberg, how dare you, girl, said we'd be underwater by 2010 or 2020. Yeah, so it is nice to see this go moderately viral so more people can see the pure hypocrisy of Bernie Sanders, who, again, really hasn't contributed anything to society. But let me know your thoughts, guys. As always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Now, going over to the business blunder of the day, you have Volvo recalling more than 400,000 cars, which isn't great, though it is for, I would say, a stupid thing. More government oversight. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Mary, who's a writer at USA Today. She says, quote, Volvo recalls more than 400,000 cars for rear view camera issue. See the list of impacted models. Now, hilariously, if you scroll, actually, it looks like I have a picture of a Tesla on this. But there you can see the nice Volvo logo. And yeah, fun fact, when Barack Obama was in presidency, he was the one who did the executive order? I believe it was, where he forced every car manufacturer to install a rear view camera. Which, not ironically, they usually are hypocrites, but also hurt the people who he claimed to want to help the most, the poor, because again, that increased the cost of goods sold on every car model, including the entry-level ones that, again, some people really struggle to afford as cars become more and more expensive, this being a contributing factor, increasing the amount of materials needed for the vehicle. Now they say, quote, Volvo is recalling more than 400,000 vehicles due to a rear view camera malfunction that could impact driver visibility. According to the notice reported by National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the recall covers 413,151 cars, with the model years being 2021 to 2025. According to Volvo, all the recalled models are believed to suffer from a software defect. The rearview camera display can go black when affected cars are put in reverse, impacting rear visibility. Now, Volvo did not report any accidents or injuries related to the issue, so at least they're ahead of the game, so to say. So thankfully no one's been hurt. Now the downside is, what does this affect? Seems like everything. I really wish they had actual car names instead of these boring car numbers, just like, well, BMW does it. Same with Cadillac. There's a lot of companies that do this. But I'll go through the list. 2022 to 2025, Volvo C40. 2023 to 2025, Volvo S60. 2022 to 2025, Volvo S90. 2023 to 2025, Volvo V60. The 2023 to 2025 Volvo V60 CC. The 2022 Volvo V90. 2022 to 2025 Volvo V90 CC. 2021 to 25 Volvo XC40. 2022 to 2025 Volvo XC60. And 2023 to 2025 Volvo CX90, which, geez, we just talk about a list of uninspiring model names. Remember we used to have more cars where it's actually named something like the Camaro or the Corvette, the Mustang? But I partially digress. Now, they say, what do you do if your car is impacted? They say the owner notification letters are being expected to be in your mailbox starting June 24th, 2025, or just tune to the show where we usually cover these recalls, 1 or 2 months before that actually happens. They also note you can call Volvo customer service at 1-800-458-1552. Again, 1-800-458-1552 with recall number R as in Rally. Sorry, I was trying to think of a good car name. It starts with an R. I don't like Rivian, so I'm not. I guess I'll say Rivian. But the R10, R10 320. Check if yours is specifically being recalled. Which, again, it's gonna. I don't think it'll hurt the brand reputation too much because they're mostly known. They all known for safety, and they claim it's a safety issue. I still think rear view cameras are very much a luxury, and they should not be used as a substitute for common sense, like checking the perimeter of your vehicle before you get inside. But again, partially digress, is an issue where, again, this counts as official recall, dings for reputation. And I don't know who's in charge of their software division, but might have to put some effort into that, and as well as your quality assurance. So, gotta say, Volvo, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you can click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.